Hey you guys, it is Platinum Aspiration, or you can call me Nikki. I am semi back from hiatus. Still have some in real life stuff going on, but one of my ultimate hurdles is done. So I want to make a video, and today it's going to be a hair conversion. There are some fantastic hair tutorials out there, most notably the ones by Rented Space and Social Bunny, both on Tumblr. You can find Social Bunny's tutorial on YouTube as well, and they have a picture tutorial if you want to follow that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do, if this is your first time converting anything and you're wanting to get in the hair game, is create yourself a workshop. Mine is within my documents folder. Everything that I have here will be linked below. If I'm missing anything, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to update the description and send you off to the right location. You will need bases. I have a melange of different kinds of bases from different creators. On my clothing tutorial, I did update the links to include more of these. However, you will want the face and hair bald for each gender available within the Sims 2 spectrum of the game. As well, you will need the different age group. As well, you'll want meshes. I am using Social Bunnies that they have available on their Tumblr. We'll need the hair mesh files, etc., so that we don't have to extract them directly from SimPE. So now that we have the bases covered, you will want the mesh toolkit if you decide to utilize it to assign your bones. I will also be showing you how to manually assign bones so you can kind of get the bigger picture of it. And then from there, you will also want the hair binner, because when we are done, this will automatically update your hairs to the correct bin as needed. So with that, I am going to go further into my workshop where I keep my hair, and we are going to work on Dog Sills Billy braids. And if you don't know what that is, let me go ahead and pull it up on the screen for you. So this right here is the Billy braids. This is what we'll be doing today. I just like to take it as a reference because in the past when I was making hair, I was just kind of doing whatever. And I'll kind of explain more of that when the further we get into the tutorial. But I kind of like to get an idea of how it will look, and of course you'll want to know what we're doing too. So with that in mind, this is our Sims 4 package. We do not want to open that in SimPE, it just throws errors. So let's go into Sims 4 Studio. You will need Sims 4 Studio, Milkshape, Sims 2. You will need Sims 2 Bodyshop. You will need SimPE. You will need the NVIDIA DDS utilities. Again, this will all be linked below, but those are the programs I can currently think of. You may want Photoshop, or GIMP is a free version of that. There's a lot of tutorials out there on how to recolor and etc. I am not doing recolors. I'm so sorry if you were looking for that. I stink at recolors. Leave it to the professionals, I say. So let's go ahead and open up our projects. You can go to My Projects and navigate to your workshop folder here. Or if you're like me and you've tried to record this 3 different times and it's not been successful, it may already be available. So now that we're in Sims 4 Studio, I'm just going to zoom in on the mesh here. So we're going to go over to Meshes, Export Mesh, and then I'm going to name this Billy. I like to keep them with the same naming convention because if I just name it, Mesh, Red, whatever, it's going to get confusing if I accidentally put it in the wrong folder. So I'm naming this Billy as well. Let's go ahead and I edit mine in Paint 3D. You can edit yours in Photoshop or GIMP. So now click on your crop button, and we're going to make this 1024 by 1024. I'd suggest to you that 1024 by 1024 be the maximum for Sims 2. Any more and it may lag your gameplay, or if you are going to be a custom content creator, it will lag someone else's gameplay. So now that we've cropped that, I'm going to go ahead and save as a PNG. I'm also going to do a save as and save it as a bitmap. This will ensure that we can actually see the whole mesh and not have transparency. Okay, so now that we have our bitmap file and our PNG file, let's go ahead and open up Billy in Blender. Now that we're in Blender, we can see our mesh here again and with the texture that I exported it with. Now there's 3 different channels here and we want the correct one. See here, if I start exiting out of these now, but there's different pieces that have the hat chops. We do not want these, they are extras. So these 2 channels right here, we do not want. This is the one we want with the braids, the full head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the funnel here, make sure that this is highlighted for what I want. Nothing else is highlighted. And we're going to go into File, Export, Wavefront Object. For your selections, you want selection only and smooth groups. Export object. So now we have our 3D object. We are going to go ahead and open up Milkshape. And from Milkshape, we want to open a file that already has bones, because if you open up the object first in this case, you won't have bone assignments later on. So go to File, Import, Sims 2 Unimesh Import v4.09. If you don't have that, you are missing the plugins. I've linked those below. Make sure you grab them. So once this is open, we're going to go into our workshop, Bases, and let's open up the AF Hair Bald. The AF Hair Bald stands for adult female. We're going to start with the adult female. Back into File, Import, Sims 2 Unimesh Import. Okay, you want to import it regardless of it being reliable or not. Do you want to include additional bonus definitions? No, never. When I first started, I kept clicking yes on this because I couldn't find a tutorial that told me no. And yeah, it basically had to start over like 5,000 times. So always click no. The Sims come with like 60-something bonus assignments. They don't need any more. So now we're still in our bases. Let's go ahead and get the AF face. No. Blend groups relate to morphs. This just means that the face has a second morph, but in Sims 2, faces don't actually have morphs. So just always hit no if you're doing a face, or if you don't want morphs. Some skin weights do not total 100%. Do you want these corrected? Yes, every time, always. So now that we have our adult female head, let's go ahead and import Wavefront Object, and we want Billy braids. We're going to go to Groups, click on your default, which is the hair, Frame Selection, and all 4 panels. As you can see here, the ear part of the hair needs to be lifted. Matter of fact, I think the whole head needs to be lifted. The back of her neck goes into her neck. So we can fix that. I also noticed, if you remember the first picture here, and we'll drag it over just a little bit. The first picture here, you can see her eyebrows more clearly, even in the Sims 4 Studio and Blender. It may have been a little bit lower on a base sim, but the idea is that we can see her eyebrows. First things I'm going to do is kind of just move this around a little bit, get the ear where I want it. Yeah, see, it already looks better. So we're going to have to pull out the back of her head. I've done this like 3 times. Now that we're here though, I would suggest to go ahead and save. You can hit Control S or File, and I'm going to name this Whip. You can label it Whip 1, Whip 2, whichever you prefer, however you prefer. You feel like you're making a lot of changes or adjustments, I would suggest to make additional save files that you can go back on, just in case you mess up, so you don't have to start completely over if you have a good save spot. Alright, so let's go ahead and save this. Before I start scaling it, I kind of want to grab the back of her head and just what I'm doing right now is just removing the vertices from the face and the hair. We don't want to drag those with us. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to fix the back of her head. You don't want the skull to show through. It would just not look very well done. So I'm going to go ahead and grab like the right before her ponytail holder, I am going to go ahead and just move this. Make sure you do reset these, because if you don't, again, you're going to grab the face and the scalp with you, and then you have to re-import them, and you're just setting yourself back. Or you can just reset from where you left off if you saved. So now that I just have the hair vertices selected, I'm going to go ahead and just rotate my 3D, and I'm going to move it back. Now, if you've not watched any of my other videos, I just want to let you know, if you move it, it goes by X, Y, Z coordinates. So X is left and right, Y is up and down, and Z is forward and back. And we want to move it back to cover the back of her head. So I'm going to turn off the Y and the X, and we'll leave Z on, and I'm just going to move it back just a little bit. Right there. Maybe right there. Hang on. Yeah, that should be fine. What I want to make sure is that I'm not cutting off too much here, because I'm going to need it to see my textures. I just want to see the back of her neck, because that's going to tell me that the root of her hair down here is aligned with her scalp. Okay, so now we have that pulled back. The head doesn't have like a weird flat shape. It's actually kind of rounded, so we are good as far as that. Let's go ahead and select the default portion, which is the hair again. Go to Materials. We're going to delete the Diffuse Map. New. Assign. Click on None. And in our progress folder, or excuse me, our whip folder, we're going to select our bitmap version of the hair. Now this is not correctly aligned yet. Yeah, so if you'll see here, one side of her scalp is not textured, the other is all scrunched up. It's because the mesh itself is now half the size of the texture because we cropped it. So let's go to Scale and change the second box to reflect 2.0 and hit the little S button. Now it's aligned. We're good. Yay, looks better, right? I can see that I didn't cut off much of the texture down here and the start of her scalp. And before I start scaling, what I like to do is seeing if I can delete any extra vertices that don't have any texture. You'll see here that this triangle of vertices, this face, does have texture bits, but these 4 faces do not. So we can actually get rid of this bottom layer here. So I'm going to go ahead and hide her face. I know which ones I want to get rid of. So ideally these 3 down here. And if I do it right, it'll get them on both sides. Now you'll notice as well, most Sims 4 hairs have this group of faces within it. It's mostly just to hide any transparency or gaps within the Sims 4, but for the Sims 2, it can look like a black line if it's not completely mapped correctly. And when you remove it, it would just cause transparencies. So what I like to do is get as close as possible to the scalp texture and then remove the bulk of these. I like to leave it on though as kind of like a reference, like for me to be able to see, because it's hard, like the amount of vertices and stuff within here and the amount of faces, it gets hard for me to see. This portion right down here doesn't have, oh, I can show you right here. This doesn't have any texture, so we can just go ahead and remove all of those. So now that we've gotten our mesh the way we want it, besides a few more faces we have to remove a little bit later. So let's go ahead and start scaling it in. Again, same concept of the coordinates. X is going to bring it left to right. That's kind of what we want because we've already aligned our forward and backward and up and down to where it needs to be. So let's start bringing it in. So I'm just going to keep scaling it, keeping an eye on the faces within this, especially this one. You can look at it directly from the front and pick up right here. It's okay if your head's popping out. We're going to fix that. I actually need to lift this hairline a little bit more, I think. Okay. So that's good to start. As you can see, like the sides of her head are starting to come in, which is good. It means it's going to be less transparent. We did gain some scalp, but I do think I want to lift her head a little bit. And I also want to bring back in these pieces right here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and do move. I'm going to move her whole head up. And back down a little bit. Yeah. And even now, see, we are losing some texture below. So I think I might drag out just that little bit rather than do the whole thing again. And what I'm going to do is just grab this back part here. And I don't know if I want to grab it all. I'll grab a little bit more than that. Take your time with this. Don't rush it. I'm going to hide the hair and the face meshes so that those vertices are now deselected. And I'm going to move it back a little bit further. There we go. Back to where it was. Okay. I use the wireframe overlay just to see what I'm doing, because right now I'm going to end up selecting it. Yeah. So I just want her scalp. So I'm going to select, right click, or right drag. Yeah. So now I just have the sides of her head. I'm going to again deselect her hair and face. I'm just going to move this forward just a little bit just to kind of bring in her hairline. Again, I'm going to go ahead and do that right here as well, just bringing it forward. Let's go ahead and fix the back of her head so we don't have this terrible scalp hanging out, and we'll come back and tighten all this up as well. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to grab, I want these vertices right here, so at the nape of her neck. Let's go ahead and hide the hair, and we're just going to grab a chunk of these vertices. And we are going to bring back her hair so we can see how far we can take it back. And move. Yeah. The reason why I'm keeping it is because she has a transparent hairline. And it's going to pull, because it's transparent, it's going to pull textures, or yeah, the texture from the scalp. So whatever color skin your sim has, it's going to pick it up right in there in all of these gray spots you see. I also want to check the top of her head. Yeah, we had a couple over there. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is again hide the hair, and I'm just going to go ahead and just select the top of her head. Bear in mind, you do not want to touch these vertices that connect to the face, as that may cause issues with your sim later on. What the? Oh, I have it on Z. You're going to put it on Y. There we go. Now we do have a piece that is sticking out right here. Again, we're just going to grab that, put her hair back on, drag it down. Now we have no skin technically popping out. It's just going to pick up those textures. Okay, so now we kind of have a base going on. I'm going to go ahead and save it again. For my sake, you can save as whip 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever number you're on. And yeah, we kind of have our own thing going here. So now that we've hidden the excess skin, what we're going to go ahead and do is finish framing her face with the hair. I'm going to throw on my colored groups, and now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to pull a good chunk of her head, bearing in mind that these ones are pretty much already close to her scalp. I'm just going to make sure I didn't select any of her braid, and then I'm going to hide her face and her hairline, I should say, make sure that we don't take those with us. And I'm gonna go scale again. Now, one thing to bear in mind is you want to watch your texture, because once it goes behind the skin, it's gonna look bad in Bodyshop. So back to our scale at 0.99. It's already taken out my texture, so I do not want to select anything within here. Let's try scaling again. All right, so I think that's a good start here. You can kind of get a look to see if anything is like sticking out. See, like this right here, because this part is transparent, this is all going to be transparent. You will be able to see underneath. That's kind of why I wanted to bring in the texture itself. So that's about as close as I can get to her scalp from there. Otherwise, what else I need to do is fix the back of her head. Again, there's like a gap right here, and that'll show up transparent in Bodyshop. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and just select this part of her head, and I'm going to deselect her braids. Then go to hair, hide it, face, hide it, so that all is left is the hair. I did go a little bit further out just so that I could blend it a little bit better. But let's go ahead and see if we can scale this inward too. You want to watch kind of like the back of her head so that we don't lose like that texture. Let me go ahead and remove that. Yeah, see the texture is already starting to come in, so we're gonna have to deselect at least the top portions. Same with over here. We're gonna need to deselect these top portions. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna deselect everything about right there. Scale it. It's all starting to come in, so we'll go ahead and leave that all right there. Let's go and actually, before we go to joints, let's go ahead and hide our face and our hair. We don't want to mess that up. As well, since we've tucked away what we can of the mesh, I'm going to alt select our little nexus of faces here and delete that. So that just gets rid of extra faces that we will not need. As well, it will cause the back to be transparent, but we won't have like a black interface. With that, let's go ahead and go over to joints here. Let's select all of our hair. And I usually start with making it 100% connected to the head. So right now, if we are to look at the hair with the face, you'll see that the face turns like this purple bright color and the hair stays with white vertices. Also, if we go ahead and put the neck back on, you'll notice the neck is a little bit lighter right here. This is really important for the connection of the neck vertices in the back. So we want to make sure that we do not have the hair base nor the face selected, because if that gets remapped, then we have to reconfigure it all. It's kind of annoying. So with that, let's go ahead and select our hair. And I'm going to go ahead and put the mark it for the head and then assign. Now my entire head the hair is purple. It has purple vertices because it's all connected to the head. This will leave it so that there's not much in the way. There's no animation unless the head moves, but it will all move together. We have the head with 100%. What I like to do now is show skeleton. And I kind of just like to get an idea of where everything is lying. So usually with this first joint at the neck, I like to go up a little bit. Sometimes right here, in this case, because there's not a lot of hair, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. I'm just going to turn off my joint vertices real quick. I kind of just want the braids themselves selected. I don't want the back of the head to move too much, so I'm going to deselect this. I'm going to go ahead and select head and then spine 2. And then from there, I'm going to put 90 on the head and 10 on the spine. This is going to make it so that it rotates not only with the head, probably a little bit more natural than it just, you know, moving from side to side with the head. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and assign these as well, just to kind of keep it all even. So we're going to reassign that. And then from about right here, just below the line, not getting that, I'm going to go ahead and put this as 80 and 20. Again, Rented Space has a great tutorial on this. I will link it below. We have hair that is slightly animated. You can see that it is kind of a different color. Again, I am not fully comfortable with bouncy hair. You'll see, like, I'm not sure what C is. Maybe center hair, front hair, right hair, left hair, back hair. I haven't tested it enough to animate my hairs very well, so this is just kind of like the baseline of it. We have our hair. Let's go ahead and set up our group. With the face, we do not need the face anymore. Your sim will have its own face. It's just extra faces and vertices that won't show up in the game anyway. So our hair already has its comments. Hair opacity -1, has tinge and ray, nothing, blank. Number skin weights 2. And then for your default, we're going to rename this hair alpha 5, hair _ alpha 5, rename it. And then I'm going to go use my codes for meshes. I have uploaded this to my sim file share, so I will provide the link to that as well. Someone suggested I link to the notepad, and I thought that was a great idea. And it's a shame I didn't do it in the first place. So let's go ahead and we'll hit OK. Now we can go File, Export, and we are going to export this as a Sims 2 Unimesh Exporter v4.09. And we will save this as Billy AF _GMDC. You name it however you like. This is the mesh for your adult female Billy braids. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save this. We are probably going to come back. So in preparation of converting this to another group of ages, such as teen, child, and toddler, I'm going to go ahead and delete the scalp, otherwise known as hair, leaving me just hair _ alpha 5. I'm going to go to File, Export, and I'm going to export it as a TSRW object. And I'm going to go ahead and save this as has joints. And from there, I'm going to go into my workshop again. And in bases, I'm going to grab my meshes and my adult hair mesh. I'm going to drop it right into my workshop for Billy braids. I'm going to go ahead and rename this. I'm going to just do a quick name. I'll rename it later. And we're going to go ahead and open that up. Now that we're in SimPE, what we're going to go ahead and do is just kind of reset this base mesh so that it is an entirely new mesh, essentially. So we're going to highlight everything by left click and dragging, and we are going to right click, clone, right click again to delete the old, and we're going to go ahead and save it. Tools, Object Tools, Fix Integrity. And you want this to be unique. I found that if you just put sweater AF and someone else puts sweater AF, that they will conflict in a person's game. It was me. I did that. Of course, I fixed it before I sent it off into Tumblr land, but just for your sake, you'll want this to be somewhat unique. So I'm going to name it Dogsill Billy AF, because that's original. If you're a creator, you can always put just your name as well. Like I can put Platasp for platinum aspiration. That way it's a little bit more unique. I mostly will do that with objects, just in case. So in this case, I don't think anyone else has done Dogsill's Billy braids. So we're going to go ahead and update and hit OK. Now the mesh has kind of been reset, so we need to replace the mesh itself. So you're going to click on GMDC, you're going to highlight the name, you're going to copy the name, and then we're going to go back to the GMDC here at the top, replace, and we're going to navigate to our mesh that we've been working on, which is the Billy AF GMDC. Open it. Yes, we want to replace it, and we also want to rename it. So once we've added back the old name, we're going to go ahead and fix TGI, commit, and save. So now that we have a live mesh, let's go ahead and move our mesh to our downloads folder within The Sims 2. I'm going to go to Documents, EA Games, The Sims 2 Ultimate Collection, Downloads, and I'm just going to go ahead and pop it right in there. We are going to go ahead and open up Bodyshop. Okay, so let's go ahead and while we're in Bodyshop, create parts, start new project, create genetics, hair. We are on the female. Let's go ahead and pick a mesh. I would highly suggest that you create a new save file so that you don't have very many downloads. Like you'll see here, I only keep in CAS items and very few of them as well. Mostly because the more stuff you have, regardless of type, Bodyshop is going to run through it. So if you have your entire deco folder, your custom content for build and buy mode, basically it's going to take 30 to 40 minutes and it may not load. So highly suggest that you create multiple Sims 2 collection folders. Really all you need to do is the one that you've generated, whether it's your main one or only one, you'll just need to rename it by adding in like an underscore and then just a simple label of what it is. And then from there, once you've done that, open your game again and your game will generate a new folder. I did that for a few different versions of mine. I have my main account, my Build a City integrated hood challenges, and Cricket was here's Feverfew, which is an amazing hood. I highly recommend it. Look it up on Tumblr. This is considered my vanilla folder. It's only 3 gigs, and my Bodyshop, after the first load, my Bodyshop will load in about 10 seconds. So I highly recommend that if you're going to be creating. As well, I would suggest that you remove any cache files as soon as you close out of Bodyshop or right before opening it. That's going to decrease your load time as well. Back to what we were talking about in here. Since this is just my creation folder, I only have what I'm working with. When you are choosing your hair that you are going to replace, ideally you'll want a hair that includes the life stages that you're going to be updating. So if you've decided you're only going to convert a hair for adult female, pick whichever one you want. But just know that if you do that, once we do the hair binning, it's going to remove the additional ages of teen, child, and toddler. So some of my hairs that you'll have to kind of like basically finagle with it in SimPE. I personally don't like doing that, so I'm going to choose a hair that I know has all the life stages. And part of that is going to just be picking... What is going on here? Uh-oh. Why does no one tell me when I mess up? It's not even tooltipped. That's so funny. I had to make a note of that. I gotta find things out on my own. Dang it. Okay, so these are the hairs I know that have the toddler age, and therefore they more likely should have all the other ages. Export selected textures. I'm going to go back to the adult and choose the adult version of the Emily. Export, and we're going to call this Billy AF. And I'm going to go with black because this is going to be my black base of my hair. And for the tooltip, let's label it black. Custom content complete. Let's go ahead and quit Bodyshop right now. And I'm going to go ahead and delete my cache files and go into saved Sims. And here's my Billy. We're going to go ahead and open it in SimPE. So now that our mesh is loaded, let's go ahead and get started. Since we only have the adult female hair right now, we're just going to work with that. If your instances are out of order, like if they're just random, go ahead and sort them so that they're all grouped together right here. Then what we're going to do is just make a note right here. PU is for toddler universal. CF is for child female. TF is teen female. Adult female is AF. Right now we haven't done any conversions, but we will come back to this hair. I'm going to go ahead and start with the first adult female I see, which is number 4. So we're going to click on the 3D ID reference file that coordinates with the other instance, in this case the property set here, which is for AF Hair Meg. And we are going to go to Tools, Body Mesh Tool, Linking Stage. After you begin linking, you'll be asked to close your 3IDR resource without committing. So when we're done here, we won't commit. So go to Documents, we're going to look for our mesh, EA Games, Sims 2 Ultimate, download, and our mesh is right here. We are linking our mesh to the new hairy color. We're essentially replacing the Emily mesh. Go ahead and do it for the next adult female here. Tools, PGASE, Bodyshop, Linking Stage. Okay, remember not to commit. We're just going to link a mesh for the adult female. And last one here for number 6. So we've linked our hair mesh. If we were to load this up in Bodyshop, it would look messy because we have the texture for Emily. And we need to replace that. Before you go any further, I'm going to go ahead and save this. We're going to go to Extra, Preferences. If you have the NVIDIA DDS utilities, you'll want to make sure that it's set up so that you can use the build DXT. So within there, go to SimPE Settings. In NVIDIA DDS tool folder, you'll want to route this line to the NVIDIA Corporation DDS utilities. This will allow you to build DXT textures rather than having DDS files for everything. So if you've got that set up, we're going to go ahead and right click, Build DXT, Open Image. And then let's go into our workshop, here, and we're just going to pull up the red for right now. The reason why I'm not pulling up the black is because I want to see what's going on in Bodyshop, if there's any gaps, holes, clipping, scalp showing. I want to be able to see it. This is our elder. Sometimes with the toddler hair, I get a little confused. So we'll go ahead and just add our texture to this one. Commit. Okay, save. So this lets you know that both those need to be updated when we get to it. Back in Sims 2, custom. Doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad to start, right? I could probably bring this in just a little bit, but I think I'm gonna do something else. It actually came out really good to start. But I think I want to show you guys something else instead of just trying to like smash this into her head. Because I think you can all benefit from it. What I think I'm going to do is try back faces again. I mean, they're not that hard. If we can learn something new in this. I'm going to go back into Milkshape, and we're going to go to File, Import, Sims 2 Unimesh, Import, Billy AF. First things I want to do, I want to fix her scalp. And you can even see where it kind of a gap right here and just the regular transparency. What I'm going to go ahead and do, just for the sake of it though, is back faces. It does add extra faces to your mesh, but overall, you know, it's going to hide some of that transparency. I'm going to make sure that my scalp is hidden. I'm going to go ahead and right about here, I think, right about where the trouble starts. Yeah, right? Maybe a little bit higher. So this is just the idea of where I want to go with it. Now I'm going to switch over to Select, Face, Ignore Back Faces, and I'm going to select the back of her head from where we wanted it. So this is about where, and then it's going to kind of creep up a little bit. That's fine. We want it about the same. I don't think I necessarily need like all this middle stuff per se. And I don't. Why is it? Oh, I'm on the wrong side. So this is going to give me the pieces that I need for the back of her head. What I'm doing right now, just so that you're aware, is I'm going to mirror the back of her head texture to the front of it. See, right now it's all black, right? That means it's going to be transparent from the inside. And the back side has all the texture. If you've got it where it's selected face, ignore back faces, and you've selected what you want, I just removed the middle because I know I won't be able to see that. I didn't want to select something that was already going to be transparent. Okay, so now that you have your selection, you're actually going to keep it as it is. I'm going to go click that ignore back faces before I forget. You're going to go to groups and press Control D. That is going to create a duplicate of these faces. Now, while you still have that selected, don't click off of it yet. If you did, just make sure you select this again. We're going to go to Face, Reverse Vertex Order, and then under Vertex, we're going to use CAS Normal Smoother, which is a plugin you will need. So now what we're going to do is go and scale it down. Instead of 0.99, I'm going to do 999. And the reason why we're going to go ahead and just do center of mass on all of these is we want it to, there we go, we want it underneath our mesh. We do not want to see it. You can see right now, you can see it, the red kind of moving around. Again, if we have that out, it's going to be black spots on our mesh, like right here. So we're going to click this a few times until we're confident. So I'm just going to keep hitting it. I'm going to go ahead and move it forward. Uh-oh. I need to move a piece. Move it right. Okay, so the back of my head I think is good now. Let me go back to show the back of my head. The back of the head is good. It's the sides that I need to bring in further. And I also want to bring it up a little bit more just in case it's peaking. You could always connect these vertices if you want. Like you could, I'm going to change this back to vertex. You could click on both of these and do vertex Sims 2 Unimesh Vertex Data Merge. That way that they are both kind of connected and there's no gaps between them. I'm good with that. Let's go to the other side and just connect those real quick. Now what we need to do, because we don't want this duplicate, we're going to go ahead and select both here. I'm going to copy my name. And we are going to press regroup to make this one mesh again. And I'm going to rename it back to hair_alpha5 and make sure my comments is just the one comment. And now I'm going to export. Since we are done, I'm going to go ahead and, oh, just a note too, in case you were curious, this right here has the same joints as what was assigned to the other side. So let's go to export Sims 2 Unimesh exporter. I'm going to overwrite my Billy AF GMDC. Yes, I want to replace it. Excuse me, if you're going to convert it to a different age, I would suggest delete the hair, leaving your hair_alpha5. File, export TSRW object like we did before, and has joints. Yes, I want to replace it, making sure I'm in the right spot for that. And we're all set. Let's go ahead and close out of Milkshape. Let's go replace our mesh because we've changed our mesh GMDC now. So open up your mesh in SimPE. And much like before, we're going to click on the GMDC type. I'm going to copy the name, right click, replace Billy AF GMDC. Yes, I want to replace it, and paste over it with the same name, fix TGI, commit, OK, and save. Now let's go back into Bodyshop and see how it looks. Back at it again. Yeah, so just a little bit of transparency, but that is because the pieces that we connected also are transparent. So that's something to remember with this, because if you think about it, you have just like a little bit of texture on this vertice, right? And we've just connected that. So the transparency still exists. I tend to stay away from being a perfectionist because I wouldn't be able to create anything. And if I can be okay with it, then that's all that matters to me. If it's something that I will play with, I am happy. And in this case, I will play with this. If you'd like, in my next video, I'm going to convert this hair to different life stages and connect them to this hair texture, recolor, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it's called. To this hair recolor. I don't want to make recolors of the different hairs yet, because then if I do, I'll have to link my other age groups like 4 different times, and that's not fun. Because like once you get this base and you get your age conversions, you just have to link it once and then they're all linked. I hope you like this video. This is basically the start of it. Again, if you only wanted to do adult female, by all means go into create parts and start your recoloring process. Anyway, closing out. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any comments, concerns, leave a comment. Please be kind. Okay, have a good one. Bye.